Imagine you're the best in the world at what you do. You've proven it 4 times over. You've beaten every rival, broken every record, and dominated an entire era of your sport. Then one day you wake up, look in the mirror, and think, is this still worth it? That is exactly where Max Verstappen is right now. The 4-time Formula One world champion is seriously considering walking away from the sport he has dominated for the last 4 years. He is not just venting. He is not using it for leverage. He told the BBC he is thinking about everything in the paddock. He is asking himself if it is still worth it, or if he would rather be at home with his family. That is not frustration. That is someone who is ready to leave. And here is what makes this serious. The FIA president said in Miami that if he leaves, the sport will continue. The sport's own boss is already preparing for it. So in this video, we are going to explain everything. Why he is unhappy, what pushed him to this point, what happened in Miami, whether he will actually leave. Because once you see the full picture, you might understand why.
To understand why Verstappen is at breaking point, you need to understand just how brutal this season has been for him. And I don't mean didn't win the championship brutal, I mean genuinely, painfully, humiliatingly bad. The 2026 Formula One season started in March with brand new cars, brand new engines, brand new rules, and every team had to start from scratch. So you'd think that would level the playing field, right? Give everyone a fair shot? Red Bull came into 2026 as the defending era, 4 consecutive championships, the most dominant team in the sport's recent history. And after the first 3 races of 2026, they were sitting 6th in the Constructors' Championship, behind Haas, a team that, and I say this with love, have never won a world championship in their entire existence. Let that sink in for a second. Verstappen couldn't even make it into the top 10 in qualifying, 3 races in a row. The man who used to lap the entire field was qualifying 8th, 9th, getting stuck behind cars he'd normally lap. He told the media he was beyond frustrated and couldn't find words to describe how he felt. And here's the thing that really got under his skin. It wasn't just the results, it was how the car was making him drive. This is a man whose entire identity is built around attacking corners, pushing limits, driving on instinct. That's what makes him Max Verstappen. But the 2026 regulations force drivers to do the opposite. Lift off the throttle before corners, coast, harvest energy, manage battery deployment. Basically, drive slowly on purpose to go faster later. It's counterintuitive, it's calculated. And to Verstappen, it feels completely alien. He called it Formula E on steroids. He compared the speed boost to Mario Kart mushrooms, where one driver is full power and another is suddenly going 50 to 60 kilometers per hour slower on the same straight. He said it flat out. It's anti-driving. It's not what I want to do. And the car itself, on top of all this, was an absolute disaster. He described it as being a total passenger. The car could understeer one corner, snap into oversteer the next, without him changing anything. He had no idea what it was going to do. No feel, no trust, no connection.
March 29th, 2026, Suzuka, Japan. Max Verstappen has just finished 8th in the Grand Prix. Again, no podium in 3 races. His worst start to a season since he was a teenager finding his feet. A journalist asks him directly, are you going to walk away from Formula One at the end of the year? And instead of the usual deflection, let's focus on the next race. We'll see what happens. Verstappen pauses and says, that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking about everything inside this paddock. Privately, I'm very happy. You also wait for 24 races, this year 22, and then you just think, is it worth it? Or do I enjoy being more at home with my family, seeing my friends more when you're not enjoying your sport? That's the quote. That's the one that sent shockwaves through the entire paddock, because everyone in Formula One has heard Verstappen talk about leaving before, but this time there was no hint of fire in it, no defiance, no competitive edge, just a man genuinely weighing up his life. He went even further. He said, as a kid, this is what I wanted to do. I had no idea what I was going to achieve or how much money I'd make. You never think about that as a kid. And it's not about that. I want to be here to have fun and have a great time and enjoy myself. At the moment, that's not really the case. It's not about the money. It's not about the championship. The man just wants to enjoy racing again. And then came the detail that made everything click into place. Because it's not just the car, it's not just the regulations. There's a deeply personal layer to all of this that most people haven't talked about properly. Gianpiero Lambiase, Verstappen's race engineer since
After a 5-week break, the longest midseason gap in Formula One since 1999, the circus rolled into Miami. And something unexpected happened. Red Bull showed up with a completely overhauled upgrade package, 7 updated elements on the car, a brand new steering rack, redesigned suspension components. Basically, they identified a fundamental fault that had been there since the very first test in Barcelona, and they fixed it. And in qualifying, Verstappen was on the front row, second on the grid, just 0.166 seconds behind Kimi Antonelli, who has been untouchable all season. After qualifying 8th in Japan, he was suddenly fighting for pole in Miami. He was genuinely surprised. He joked with reporters that he'd bet on himself starting on the front row and made a lot of money. When he's making jokes again, that's a Verstappen who feels something shifting. He said, "I never felt comfortable with the layout of the car. I felt like a total passenger. It could understeer, it could snap on me. Now I can finally drive how I want to drive." The race itself was messy. A spin at turn 2 on the opening lap dropped him down the order, an early pit stop during a safety car hurt his strategy, and he ended up 5th. Not the podium the front row deserved, but the pace was there. The connection was there. And afterward, he said something he hadn't said all season. From here, there's light at the end of the tunnel, that we can just push on and try to close the gap further. Light at the end of the tunnel. That's not the language of a man writing his resignation letter. That's the language of a fighter who just found something to hold on to. Even the FIA president got in on the story. Standing in the Miami paddock on Saturday, Mohammed Ben Sulayem addressed Verstappen's retirement talk directly. He said he'd spoken to Max personally. He said he believed in him. And then he added, in what was possibly the most diplomatically loaded sentence of the whole weekend, "If he goes,
Here's the truth. Max Verstappen at his best is the most complete racing driver in the world right now. Not arguably, not in some people's opinion. He is on Formula One's all-time race winners list at 3rd, behind only Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher. At 28, with potentially another decade of racing ahead of him. The sport cannot afford to lose him, and he knows it. But here's what I keep coming back to. Verstappen has never been someone who makes threats he doesn't mean. When he says he's thinking about leaving, he's thinking about leaving. When he says he wakes up every morning convincing himself to continue, he's not performing for the cameras. This man has no filter, no spin, no PR script. He says what he means. And what he means right now is Formula One is at a crossroads. The sport is asking its best driver to compete in cars he finds unnatural, on regulations he finds anti-racing, with an engineer who's leaving for a rival, in a team still carrying 6 kilograms of excess weight. The Miami upgrade was a step, a real, genuine, impressive step, but it's still one step in a long climb. He became a father recently. He has a life outside of Formula One that he describes as privately very happy. He has the Nuremberg 24 Hours coming up. He's already talked about Le Mans. He has a whole world waiting for him if he chooses to walk into it. And the performance clauses in his Red Bull contract, reports say they trigger if he's not 1st or 2nd in the championship by the mid-season point. Given he's 9th in the standings right now, those clauses are very much in play. So here's where we land. Verstappen is not quitting tomorrow. The Miami upgrade has given him a lifeline. The light at the end of the tunnel is real, but the tunnel is still long, and the sport still has a lot to prove to him and a lot to fix. The regulations are still fundamentally flawed in his eyes. The car still has weight to lose, his engineer is still leaving, and every race weekend that passes without a podium is another weekend that chips away at the passion he still has for this sport. Verstappen is not done. Not yet. But he is closer to done than he has ever been. And Formula One, the teams, the FIA, the engineers, the rule makers, they know it. They felt it in the Miami paddock. They're scrambling to keep the sport's biggest name happy before the mid-season crunch arrives. The question isn't whether Max Verstappen will quit Formula One. The question is, what will Formula One do to make him want to stay? That's the full story. The frustration, the car disaster, the personal factors, the Miami turnaround, and everything still hanging in the balance. If this video gave you something to think about, hit subscribe, because we cover Formula One at a depth you won't find anywhere else. Drop a comment below. Is Verstappen going to finish the 2026 season, or is he actually walking away? I genuinely want to know what you think. I'll see you in the next one.